All right, welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears. Dan Drake Toll back with Coach Steve Rodriguez, the Baylor Baseball program. His squad's hot. His squad's playing well at the right time, too, as they roll near postseason play. But, Coach, as I'm sure you would say, you're not there yet. It's not postseason time yet, and why even talk about it?
Well, that's exactly right. It's always fun to talk about because that's everybody's goal is to be able to get to postseason. And, I think that's one of the reasons why you play and you compete as hard as you do is to be able to get to that crown jewel toward the end. And, it's hard. It's always fun to see those things and focus on them. But at the same time, we have a lot of business to worry about in these next couple of weeks before we get to that.
Coach, I think it was on ESPN Plus. I heard the other day during the home series against Kansas State, you uttered the words, "We're going to take it day by day, game by game." Did you come up with that?
It's one of my favorite cliches, and I'm not a cliche guy. I'm not, and I hate using it. But the way college baseball is now with the pandemics and isolations and protocols and quarantines, like you literally have to do it that way because you don't know after every testing cycle what's going to happen. And so you want to make sure that your guys are prepared for that game and that game alone, and then we worry about the next one that next day.
Mm. Coach, I want to take you back to this past weekend. You got Oklahoma State on the road, and that's one of the tougher places to play, especially in that new ballpark in Stillwater. Game one, you guys get down pretty, it seems almost insurmountable. In baseball, you get down like that early, and a lot of times teams will shut down and look forward to Saturday's game, but you fight them back all the way to tie things up late in the ball game, take it to extra innings. Talk about really the resiliency of your team to claw through that game on Friday.
Well, and I actually told our guys that exact same thing. We did not play well defensively. I think we made like a season high 6 errors. That was very uncommon for our defense. And our guys were just kind of like, what's going on? And it wasn't anything. It was just kind of like weird hops and just kind of stuff like that. And some really interesting things just kind of happened. Some of them were obviously our fault, but it happened. But I told our guys, when you make that many errors and you're able to take a really good team like Oklahoma State into extra innings and be able to keep pushing it to the point where literally one at bat, one swing could give us the lead or give us the win, and we just couldn't get it. And I thought our guys just did a great job fighting through a lot of that. Especially in, like you said, like $75 million stadium, brand new ballpark. They're at 100% capacity. And it was a fun environment. It really was.
Looking at that night too, Luke Boyd comes into a pretty hairy situation there late in the game. I've got to ask, is this Luke Boyd's world and we're just all kind of living in
it? I'll tell you what, he's pretty fun to watch go pitch. I'll tell you what, it's really fun to have him in our bullpen and not someone else's. He goes out there regardless of what the score is, and he treats every inning, every pitch like he should as a closer. And that for me is one of the great things. He doesn't go out there if we might be up by a lot and kind of go through the motions. He pretends it's a 1-run ball game and it's his job to close it. And he takes a lot of pride in what he's doing out there, which is a great thing for a lot of our younger guys to see, because that's how a professional behaves.
Coach, I don't want you to give away too much strategy here either, but looking at like a la Madison Bumgarner when he pitched all 7 games of the World Series that one year, how do you plan to use Boyd throughout, more key games and into the postseason? Could he see more innings, or is he really in just that 1-2 inning closer role?
It really just depends on the day, where we are in whatever series we're playing, whether it's a conference tournament or like this weekend against Oklahoma. We let him kind of help us make that decision. Like I always have goals in regards to what I want, like last year when we were down in the Shriners Classic and we had the LSU and Arkansas and Missouri games, I was going to give him the 3rd day off against Arkansas. And he's like, no, I feel good. I'm pitching in this game. And so, for us to hear that, we allow him to have an input in that. It's not like, hey, here's how we're going to use you, and this is like the trump card on everything. It's not that at all. We want him. If he doesn't feel right, then we're not going to use him. But if he's like, hey, I want the ball, I got this, because we trust his intelligence, we trust his knowledge of his body and how he feels, and if he's going to be beneficial or a detriment to our team. And we really trust him in regards to helping us make that decision.
Coach, looking at Saturday's game against Oklahoma State, I felt like after watching their pitching staff throw this past weekend, they were not getting enough credit nationally, especially, or in the conference. I mean, you're playing in the Big 12. It's a tough conference in general, but Oklahoma State, in my mind, shouldn't be a team that many have in the conversation of out of the bubble, off the bubble, or out of the postseason. When you look at a team like OSU, especially in Stillwater, were they better than advertised?
I'll tell you what, the pitching staff was pretty good. And you said it. I mean, we have the second ranked conference in regards to college baseball. And I really do believe there should be at least 5 teams from our conference that get into postseason. Oklahoma State, they had closers on Saturday throwing 100 miles an hour. They have, several guys that were 95 to 98, so when you see a pitching staff like that and you just think about what they have the opportunity to do in postseason, I think it's very warranted for them. Like you said, the fact that they might be a bubble team or, a last team in, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Coaches, we've talked to baseball analysts locally and nationally. One of the guys came on the show and said that one of your mantras is that good teams keep from getting swept, great teams sweep. When you look at a game like Sunday, I mean, if you take a sweep at Oklahoma State, the conference standings look far more bleak than what you're now set up for against Oklahoma. Was that kind of going through your mind when you talk to the team going into Sunday or the team in general?
Well, they've heard me say that probably way too many times. So I don't have to repeat it to them. And they understand that, hey, we're here, we're going to play this game. Obviously the 6-hour rain delay was not very favorable just in regards to, you're just sitting there. But at the same time, once that game starts, it's go time. And our guys realize that, how we finish up these next few games can really be a big determining factor on postseason.
Take me through that 5-6 hour rain delay that you guys had. I mean, you're looking at your travel. Everything's kind of lined out for you guys trying to do the X's and O's, and team ops guys are probably pulling their hair out. What did that look like for you on your end? Because obviously it was a crucial game to get in for that conference race.
Well, the big thing was just trying to make sure, our guys do a great job of staying loose. They were playing different games and stuff. So it was fine for them. Some guys like literally took a nap, which is fine. Us coaches, I'm more staring at like all the different weather apps, trying to figure out where there might be a break or a window in that storm we were dealing with. And, and so that was the big thing, is just trying to give them a timeline. Hey, we're going to get going at, they said 5:02 and then it went to 6:02. And so it just, all the time frames just kept getting pushed back. And so I think we ended up starting about 6:05 and, our guys were ready to go. And so it was just a matter of letting them do their thing, stay loose, get some snacks. We went and got food for them. Like you said, our ops guy and nutrition people were kind of pulling their hair out because they have everything kind of planned out. And then next thing you know, everything changes. And, the bus trip home starts around 11 o'clock. And we don't pull them back into Waco until about 4 o'clock. So it was a long night for us, but it's always easier when you have a win under your belt when you're coming back.
You talk about that, getting the win and having at least that momentum coming home on Sunday. And a lot of times the team that wins the final game of the series gets to leave with momentum no matter what's happened in the first couple, a la the Texas series and now through this one against Oklahoma State. How big of a boost is that to avoid the sweep and get the win Sunday?
Well, what's interesting is I thought we played really well, minus, it's kind of weird to say that after you make 6 errors on Friday, but I thought we played well. You take some of those things out. We gave up 4 earned runs. So we obviously, every error that we caused and created allowed them to score. And so, and I told our guys that, I said, we made some mistakes, obviously, but we actually played some pretty decent baseball throughout the whole game, minus those mistakes. And then even the next day, we make 1 error at third base that costs a run. Then we get a bad hop single that scored a couple more, and so those are the things that you look at and you're kind of like, okay, we should win that game 1-0. We should win the other game 8-4, whatever it is, but we didn't. And so I think the great thing is being able to put some of those things behind you and then come out and just try to eliminate those mistakes the next day. And our guys did a good job of that on Sunday and able to bring that confidence all the way back home.
Coach, you're looking at an Oklahoma series against the same team that you lost to earlier this year. But before you even go the X's and O's of what's going to take place this weekend, you're looking at seniors. I mean, Andy Thomas has played an MLB schedule worth of games at Baylor Ballpark. He's pushing, was it 29, his birthday last week. And so guys like that, that have given so much to this program, what are the emotions, I should say, that kind of go through you and this staff when you see those guys play for the last time in Waco?
You know what? I always get very emotional, just because, I get a chance to really meet, know, understand, kind of go through the goods and the bads with kids. And, you're there to help them get engaged. You're there when, family members pass away. I mean, like there's all sorts of different things that a lot of people don't see that are on a coach's plate. And that's what I think just brings you such an amazing tie to these kids, is when you have that kind of relationship with them, when you're going through life with them as well, and not just baseball. But having those guys come back this year was a great thing for us, a great thing for our young guys, great thing for our program. You felt bad for them last year because they were playing really well. And then all of a sudden everything gets shut down. And I'm just really happy that the guys who came back are experiencing the things that they wanted to do and being able to do the things for the reason why they came back. Yeah.
Coach, not only the chance to honor your seniors, but the chance to finish conference play above 500, take a sweep. If a sweep happens against Oklahoma, I mean, you take over that Oklahoma State spot in the conference rankings. And I mean, say something crazy happens in Lubbock, who knows at the end of this whole thing when the standings come out. Are you looking at that at all?
No, believe it or not, I'm not. I mean, you want to finish as high as possible, but the biggest thing is you just want to make sure you just keep putting yourself in a good position. You want to finish as high as possible. At the same time, you just want to play well at the right times. And that's the biggest thing. Like the rankings, like I don't want to deal with what's happening in Lubbock. I don't deal with what's happening at TCU. I want to deal with what's happening in Waco, because those are the things that I have control over, and all that other stuff, that's not my problem.
Coach, being at home, I mean, your team at home this season has been borderline unstoppable. The record is unbelievable. What is that confidence? What do you attribute that confidence boost to playing in Baylor Ballpark?
It's everything. When you get a chance to play at home, friendly confines, it makes it a lot better for you. A natural surface, which, there's only 3 of those in our conference. And so we actually enjoy it. Obviously we've had a lot of success here, and I think everybody, just like when you go into someone else's house, you're trying to, hey, where's the cups and where's the silverware, like when you're trying to find stuff, and when you're at your own home, you know exactly where it is. I think that's the way our guys feel about it.
Coach, I remember we talked earlier this season. You said, hey, that first couple of weeks, that first 3 weeks, we get a couple of weekends under our belt, and you really start to feel out the identity of this team. And I know that took a little bit longer. You look at pandemic and injuries, things that really threw the bullpen, the entire pitching staff thrown out of whack at the beginning of the year. How long did it take to find this team's identity, and what is that identity?
I think we had to get into conference, to be honest. Once we got into conference after our first couple of weekends, we made a couple minor changes, and then I think our personality kind of blossomed. I really do. And I think it's just a matter of our guys play really good defense. Our guys can really handle the bat, and they're really great in executing. And so for me, they've taken the shape of a really good baseball team. They're young. They're still going to make some young mistakes, but I'll tell you what, I'll go to battle with these guys any day.
Coach, I've been looking here. So Las Vegas originally, then you're at
Yes.
Pepperdine. I mean, that's West Coast baseball. That's if we score 3 runs and our pitching staff does what they do, we're going to get some squeeze bunts in there and make this thing happen. This season, you guys are leaning on the long ball. I don't know about leaning, but you've got the long ball to rely on, and you put up 23 runs in a game so far. How different is this style of baseball than maybe you're used to?
I don't know if I've really changed my style of how I play. I think, like we've talked about, the personality of the team determines your style. And there's nothing worse than trying to create a style out of something that isn't there. Everybody's like, are you going to be a speed team? I go, well, if we have fast guys, then we'll have a speed team. If, like one year at Pepperdine, we weren't known as a power team, but we had 5 guys that had 10 home runs. Well, guess what? We turned into a power team that year. And so I think the team kind of develops that personality to where you start to play what you're capable of doing. If you have a good speed team, well, then you're going to run a little bit more. If you have a power team, then you don't want to run yourself out of innings. You want to allow that to happen. And so that, I think, is the big thing for a coach, is that you don't want to really coach one style. You want to coach the style of that team. And that's what really determines how I coach. Like I coach a certain way, but the team helps me develop which way we're going to start leaning as the game goes on.
Coach, along with that, when you're looking at from a team health standpoint, I don't want you to give anything away again that would go on another program scouting report, but a lot of times most schools get to this point in the season, they're so beat up, injuries left and right, guys have tweaked something. I mean, you got that 10-day break. How is the team doing right now?
You know what? I think just like every team, we have our issues, but our guys are understanding that every team is going to have issues, and the big thing for us is just to make sure that whatever issues that we're dealing with, whether it's health or injury, we need to find a way to compensate for it and fill those spots in as best we can.
Mm. And coach, along with that, there are a lot of whether it be baseball, softball, football, anything, coaches that use bulletin board material. So, these coaches polls come out of the RPI or anything like that, and they'll just tack it up and, hey, this is where they think we are, and then that's a rallying point. Are you a bulletin board guy?
You know what? The only thing I'm not. I'm not a bulletin board guy. I don't really listen to a lot of people. I've learned that throughout my coaching career and even my playing career. It's unless you're going to be in the trenches with me, then I really don't listen to it. But the big thing is, I told everybody, go, hey, the league has us finishing 8th. What a great way to prove them wrong. As soon as those things came out at the beginning of the year, I just said, hey, this is what everybody thinks of you. It's a great way to prove them wrong.
I love it. At least that part, at least the league, at least you got to show the league. And then, as like I said, games get down more into crunch time, postseason on the cusp, and you're taking it game by game. I want to know, is it in your mind still just that thought of, we want to make the postseason, play in a regional, go somewhere and make some noise? Not the cart before the horse necessarily, but also striving to be in postseason play.
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest things. And so we need to play well this weekend, and then I think our pitching is really starting to develop. So when we get into the conference tournament, I really like the depth of our pitching staff. And so I think we're set up really well. If we just go out and play well, I mean, obviously we're going to have some weather issues this weekend, so we'll have to manage that.